So as I said, welcome to this second meeting of our Oregon One Online Improvement Committee. So we'll have our meetings, we're recording, as you can see, and we do need some nominations for co-chair. George, thank you for volunteering for that. We'll need some more, and hopefully we can get that vote in at the next meeting. But we also heard about your requests for a charter. So we do have a draft of that, and that should be this draft version that we would love your input on, should be ready to go in just the next couple days. So any other questions or comments before we start jumping into Samantha's presentation of the One System?
Yeah, if we're going to do a charter, we're not going to need bylaws, right?
We're not going to need what? I'm sorry?
If we're going to have a charter, we're not going to need bylaws, right?
Yeah, that would probably be in the place of bylaws.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And a couple more people coming in. So why don't, without any further ado, Samantha, if you're ready to go.
I am indeed ready to rumble. I did leap up to grab water really quick and then heard my name and I was like, get back faster, Brookshire. Hi guys, I'm Samantha Brookshire. I'm a senior analyst with OEP BIS, which I know is a bunch of acronyms. So let me see. OEP is the Oregon Eligibility Partnership. BIS is our business information systems. So the translation of all of that is I am the nerd who makes your will done. So what's going to happen is, as you guys know, you guys are going to be looking and advising on ways that we can make applicant portal, I'm sorry, the One Online Portal. I'm working on my own reminder of how we're referring to it with James. And before meetings, I'm going to help James prepare system documentation so that you guys can see what you're talking about, because it's always very helpful to not kind of have to pull it from memory, but to be able to like see screenshots or documentation around what you're going to be talking about. And then he's going to come back and I'm going to help him turn what you guys are looking for into system requirements in order to put those changes into the system. So I'm kind of really on the back end of all of this. I've been with the One System for about 7 years now. I came on board as we started doing our Fit Gap to bring the self-sufficiency program, SNAP, cash assistance, and employment-related daycare into the existing Magi One System. So I have been here kind of since the inception, and I've always worked on our client-facing portal. I'm expanding a little bit now. I also work on our mobile app. I saw Kenneth is here and had the pleasure of meeting Kenneth and some of our other partners as we were working on preparing for the Oregon One mobile app to go live. I also work on our chat bot and a couple of our other external facing systems. And by external facing systems, I mean systems that the public interacts with that are under the umbrella of One. So notices that go out, et cetera, et cetera. With me here, so anybody who's been in a meeting with me before knows I always have my work buddy. Let me see if I can get my work buddy so we can all say hi. Oh, it's gonna blur her. Miss Bean, maybe we'll get her. Maybe she'll just be blurred. Jelly Bean is my guinea pig. She joins basically every meeting that I'm in, so that we can all enjoy some Jelly Bean time and that she can get interaction with people. She's a solo pig and she needs to hear her name and know how wonderful she is. So she joins us. But today, James did point out that people occasionally like to see my face. So here I am, I'm a human. I know it can be shocking. And as I get into our One Online Portal, you're going to be like, this person is clearly half robot. Promise, superhuman. It's Flash. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. If I can figure out how to do that in Zoom, I normally use Teams. So screen two, share. All right, there we go. Fantastic. So let me just navigate. So I'm going to start us from a position of where we're going to be looking at a dashboard. So when we're talking about the one portal, that's the one online portal is one.oregon.gov. And there's, you know, the landing page you may or may not be familiar with. I'm not going to get too deeply into those. We're just going to start from being logged in today because there's so much I could talk to you about. I really had to narrow it down to like what are our most critical pieces to walk you guys through for you to understand and really get moving. That said, if you have questions, I may not be able to live answer them. I'm going to have my team here taking note of any questions you have and trying to get my attention if there's something I can answer real time. Otherwise, we're going to try to get through as much as we can in this portal because there's a lot here. And of course, since I'm in a user acceptance testing environment, it runs at the speed of molasses. So, but if you have questions, go ahead and put them in chat and we'll try to get them answered either real time or we'll get back to you with answers on those. What I'm on right now is a dashboard search. This dashboard is specific to DHS employees who work in the applicant or work in the one online portal. Most DHS employees do not work in the one online portal. But if you reach out to the AP technical team, which is the help desk for the one system for the public, they will be having this view. This view also looks very similar, but is not exactly the same as the view that a community partner would see and an organization or individual author up in that you can search for cases. I've already data mined a case number for me to pull up. And so as you can see, this is very obviously a test case. Just want to clarify that this is all test data that I'm going to be showing you here. So I'm going to navigate into their dashboard. And once this page loads, this will actually look like the dashboard that a regular Oregonian who is trying to manage their benefits would experience when they're in the portal, when they're logged into their one online account and when they're in the portal. So for this individual right now, we can see that they are receiving full medical, and there are 2 individuals on the case. It gives us their prime numbers and their next renewal date. We have these really high level vague coverage types. We do instruct individuals to review their OHP welcome letter for a deeper understanding of exactly what will be covered under their medical assistance program.
Samantha, is there any way just to make your screen just a tiny bit larger for people?
Yeah, is that good? Or more?
Let's try that. Okay, thanks.
Awesome. So when an individual submits from applicant portal, be that their initial application, a reported change, a renewal, if they're receiving SNAP, their SNAP periodic report, which is the check-in at 6 months if they receive a 12-month certification. For individuals who are on a 24-month certification for SNAP, it's the 12-month check-in. Any action taken through applicant portal is actually stored up here in the My Actions. We're going to actually come back to this later, though, because there's nothing here right now. This case was not started in applicant portal, so there's nothing in My Actions. But I do want to show you the message center because the message center has some really cool stuff in it. And that really cool stuff is, if it wants to load, that it will have all of their, ooh, that does not look good. So let's back out of that one. I'm going to have to write a defect on that. Let's go in this way. There we go. It's a beautiful listing of all the notices they've received. So they can kind of, change how the time frames. So we can go to all time and see everything that has ever been submitted. Clearly, this case was just started in July. And they also have a link that will take them out to the current rights and responsibilities and notice of privacy practices. If they click on these, it'll open a message that allows them the opportunity to download that notice of eligibility to review. If the individual uses a written language that is other than English, but is one of the 7 supported languages, so I think it's English, Spanish, do not quote me on this. I'm trying off the top of my head. Traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese, Vietnamese. There's some more that I'm sorry, I can't remember them all off the top of my head, guys. But the one system produces notices in 7 languages. The notice in the written language they have selected in their case will be what they see when they do the please click here to view your message. There will also be a hyperlink if it is non-English, there will be a hyperlink here to also see it in English. So if you're assisting somebody who you do not speak the same language they do, and you are working through an interpreter and you need to review their notice in English, you can review it in English as well. So go ahead back to inbox. We are in a UAT system, so it's acting funky. Hopefully doesn't normally act like this. Okay, I hope it just kicked me out. That would be ideal. So let me get back into where I was. It's always exciting working in test systems. They keep it dynamic for me. Okay, so other things they can do from their dashboard, if they are enrolled in a CCO, that's a coordinated care organization, they can elect to change that from their dashboard. They can also see information about any medical assister community partners that they are currently associated to. These are the OHP certified medical assister community partners. Unfortunately, we do not have other community partners in the system yet. And as well, they can find out information about any authorized representatives that they are associated to. They can submit an incomplete SNAP application. That is the application that will just create that filing date. So if somebody only has like 5 minutes and they know that they want SNAP and they just want to get that filing date established, they can click into this and submit it. And it submits a very limited subsection of the information required: name, address, the request for SNAP. It gets into a little bit of demographic information. And then finally they sign saying, yes, I do want SNAP. It's about 3 pages long. It's very quick to go through. However, today I do want to actually get us into starting an application, and we're running low on time already. I know it seems like I just started, but it goes very quick. So let's go ahead and jump into the flow of an application. So one thing to note, this is a 2-person household. We have 2 people who are already receiving medical. So the nice thing here is that, one, unlike some of our prior online application solutions, is going to pre-populate this application with information that we already know and have already verified in the worker side. So if they already told us, their income that they're receiving, and that is in their case in the worker portal, for one, when they start this application, it's going to load all of that information into this application. So it can be really easy to walk through an application where you're adding an additional program such as SNAP or ERDC. However, the system does not contain all information necessary for all programs. We have rules and limitations put on us both by the legislature and the feds, our federal partners, and our own understanding that nobody wants to spend 16 hours filling out an application, that we collect the minimum necessary information to determine eligibility for whatever program they are requesting. So because these people have medical right now, we only have information that is related to medical eligibility. So as we get into this, I'm going to select programs other than medical to apply for, and we'll see some stuff that isn't pre-populated. That's because that information was not required for medical, but it is required for the new programs they're requesting. So we'll see some places where we need to do some data entry, and we'll see some places where it's pre-populated in. This very first page just kind of goes over what you can apply for in this system. It's really very important to note that our temporary assistance for domestic violence survivors program is not available to apply for through the One online portal. And further, if somebody is receiving those benefits, that benefit information is not available in their One online account at all. There's no indication if they log into their account that they have applied for, requested, or are receiving TADVS. This is for safety. We definitely want to keep survivors safe. We know that there are scenarios where individuals can get access to their accounts because they have access to their email, they have access to their vital information that would allow them to create an account for that person. We do not put that information in for their safety. This was the literal first requirement we took for the One online portal to keep survivors safe. There's some further information here about SNAP benefits. We again give them the opportunity to just do that filing date. And then we talk about processing timeframes, et cetera. Medical assistance, we talk about resources for them if they need assistance filling out this application, or if it turns out that they do not qualify for medical assistance through the state of Oregon. We give a little bit of our privacy information and how we share data and in what situations we share data with state and federal sources. And we'll move forward. If anybody wants to see text on any of these screens more deeply, you want to read through it, go ahead and put that in chat, like try to orient the team to what screen we were looking at the time, and just say, hey, I want to read through all of the text on that. We can get you copies of that. So this is asking what they're going to apply for on this application. That is different than individual program request. This is like an application-wide program request. So for this one, we're going to do SNAP and we're going to do ERDC because that gives us really the widest breadth of looking at everything possible in this application. This screen gives more information about community partners and assisters. Because this individual is already receiving medical, we've queued this screen. If this person were not receiving or applying for medical, if they were just applying for, let's say, SNAP, they would not see this screen. So this is one of those ones that requires a program to be being received or being applied for. And again, we give them the opportunity to indicate that they would like a authorized representative. Authorized representatives are individuals or organizations that are acting on behalf of the client with the department. The current structure of the system is that if you are an authorized representative for one program, you are an authorized representative for all programs. That is a change that we made in 2019 to accommodate the structure of the system. So you cannot designate an authorized representative for medical only. They are an authorized representative for all programs on the case. Alternate payees, you can have multiple alternate payees, but only one authorized representative. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as no for right now, just so we can move quickly through this. By adding an authorized representative in the system at this point, that is not the end of the party. If you, as you're thinking about the system, please understand that we do need to obtain additional verifications for basically everything that comes through applicant portal that we can't obtain through an interface. So authorized representatives require that we have an authorization on file. So after the application is submitted, if the individual has said, yes, I want an authorized representative, they will also have to turn in that, that documentation that authorization with the signature of the primary applicant and the authorized representative saying they understand all the rights and responsibilities and et cetera, of having an authorized representative. They'll turn that into the department. The department does reach out to gain that document. But it is always good to know that we link it as well in several locations. We really are trying to get people to get that to us before we reach out to get it from them. So the first question we have here that's really an eligibility question is the $1 million question. What's the $1 million question? It is a question that we only queue if somebody is requesting childcare assistance. A couple of years back, the legislature decided that there was a problem with people winning the lottery and then applying for childcare assistance. So they put this question on. If you have over $1 million in assets, you are not eligible for childcare assistance. So right out of the gate, we ask it. Say if somebody were to select yes here, that does not stop them from applying. There are very zero actually places where if they answer a question quote unquote wrong, they will be told you can't apply. We have none of them. We do not stop people. They may get denied, but they will not be told you cannot apply. Further, we only determine whether or not somebody is eligible for Magi Medicaid benefits out of this system. Every other program has a worker, an ODHS staff member look at it. So if people mess up when they're entering here, they still have the opportunity where they're going to speak with a worker or a worker is going to review and get clarification. So if I had said yes here, because I was just guesstimating or I was going too quick or I didn't really understand the question, it's going to come up in that intake for ERDC. The worker's going to go, so you said you have $1 million, more than $1 million in assets. Can you tell us about that? And, if it turns out, oh, they don't, they have 600,000 in assets, or they just completely misunderstood the question, or they were just moving too fast, they have the opportunity to fix it. So one of the things that, that we do out of applicant portal is we give people the opportunity to just enter the information to the best of their ability, knowing that it'll get fixed. And we have a lot of points in worker review where they will clarify and fix information that is maybe not correct out of applicant portal. So on the screen, we start collecting information about all the members in the household. As you can see, it is pre-populated because this is information that they collected for the medical application. We're collecting the individual's name as it would appear in Social Security records, immigration documents, birth certificate, or government issued IDs, and then the name they want us to use. We are collecting sex as it appears on federal databases, keeping in mind that unfortunately we are in a spot where we have to ping off of these federal databases and they care a lot about male or female currently. We are watching for opportunities where SSA is going to loosen, and SSA and immigration are going to loosen that up for us to be able to either not provide it or expand the options. But right now we are only allowed to collect male or female, and they will say no match if it is incorrect. So we do ask people to do their best to report to us what the sex that federal databases would have is. If an individual does go through the steps of changing their sex with SSA, they're welcome to update with us. And we would encourage that. We also collect gender identity and whether or not an individual is transgender. These are to comply with SOGI data requirements, but also so that we can ensure that we are being respectful and we're not misgendering people when we're speaking with them. While we were implementing some of these changes for SOGI, sexual orientation and gender identity, we also went through and tried to the best of our ability, remove all gendering throughout throughout the applicant portal and our correspondences. I'm sorry, the one online portal and our correspondences, because we do not want to misgender people. We do not want people to feel uncomfortable. I am an imperfect person. I have had, people call the governor's advocacy line and say, hey, it called me a he here, and I identify as she, her. And, the first thing is I'm not perfect. I appreciate all the feedback. It is helpful to make the system better. So as you're navigating through it, as you're working with people who are navigating through it, if you see things where you're like, hey, this was missed, this is offensive or harmful or not respectful, please, you will not offend me. I want to make this better for everybody. So please, those are things we would love called out. We get into collecting ethnicity and race. You may ask, why is ethnicity separate from race? And why are you asking whether someone is Hispanic or Latinx twice? Those are some of the fun places where our data collection requirements for our federal partners differ. Real D requires that we collect Hispanic or Latinx identity as race. Food and Nutrition Services that runs SNAP requires that we collect it separately as a yes, no under ethnicity. So we do try to deduplicate that as much as possible, but unfortunately, sometimes we cannot. So I try to make it make sense as much as I can. But again, I only have my lens. If you have feedback, thoughts on that, I would love to hear them, and I will bring them to our equity and inclusion teams to, provide that feedback and see how they want to absorb and integrate those into the system. So we made it through individual 1. We're now on to individual 2. All the same questions are being asked. There's one difference down here. We ask how frequent, or if individual 2, and you can see it's populating in this individual's name, is living with individual 1. They said yes. There are other options. They can say yes part-time, give a little bit more information about it. They can say no, temporarily away, give more information, or no. But we're going to keep it as yes, because it makes it easy. If we wanted to add another individual, we would do that right here. It just dropped this response for me. Because it's a test system. So let me fix these really quick. As you can see though, if we have, if information is missing that is required, it will turn red. It'll jump them to it. It'll give them an error that, that is not the correct error though. Let me grab a really quick screenshot of that. So I remember to put in a defect later. It'll give an error telling them what they need to do. We'll move forward. So this is a little pop-up telling us we do not have a child under 18 years old that we are applying for, but we are requesting childcare benefits. It's still like I said, this does not prevent you from proceeding with the application. We do know there are scenarios where individuals do not have the child in the household yet, but receiving employment-related childcare or childcare benefits is a condition of having the child in their home. So we allow them to apply before they get the kid back, and it all gets sorted out during the intake. I did just see a pop-up, but I'm not entirely sure where it was. Stacy was asking if we're meeting 5th grade reading level. Yes, we are substantially in compliance with 5th grade. It's actually 6th grade reading level. We do plain language review on these, as well as grade leveling, to ensure that as many people as possible are able to read and understand the portals. I cannot say that everything is 100% at a 6th grade reading level, because sometimes some of the topics are just a little complex. When you're talking about, for individuals who are receiving or requesting non-Magi medical benefits, they have to be asked about annuities. And I have a college degree and I can barely understand annuities. So there, some things are just, we did our very best to simplify them, to get them into plain language that most people can understand, and that meet our statutory requirement to provide written materials at a 6th grade reading level. But unfortunately, substantially in compliance is where we are sometimes. So while I get us back to where we left off, and this thing is acting feisty on me, do we want to take maybe a 5-minute break for me to get us where we need to be?
That would be great. Although Vanessa has her hand up too. Do you have a quick question?
Yeah, my question was, so we have to pull, because we have a program that we work with that's off of ERDC, and we pull a lot of reports down from like one in terms of demographics. Does that ever get reviewed? Because sometimes we notice we'll have a family, and whether they were clicking through it and completing it, each in one area they'll put that they're a certain demographic, and then another area they won't put it, or it like changes back and forth. Like, does that get reviewed? Do we, because sometimes we're trying to report, we're like, well, here they put here and here they put there, so we kind of are like, oh, what do we do? Because we definitely need it for our reporting purposes, for our funding.
So great question. We rely on self-report. So if somebody indicates on one screen that their only racial identity is other white, like this individual, but then later on reports that they are American Indian or Alaska Native, we're not going to question that. We're going to go with it. However, we do know that sometimes people need to update their information, or we're just going through really fast and they select don't know or don't want to answer. And their responses, they may have time, more time in future run-throughs of the system, or like at the renewal to provide the information. So we do have a pop-up that occurs if they have not reviewed and made any changes to their RealD demographic information in the past 365 days. It says, hey, do you want to go look at that? It's a soft stop. But yeah, we do ask them to review it at every renewal.
Well, let's just take a 5-minute break to allow people to take a breath. I'll stick around, and George, if you're willing to stick around, we can talk about your question too. But give Samantha a chance to clean up her screen, and we can meet back at 2:45.
Okay.
But while people take a break and Samantha does that, George, I assume you had a pretty technical question, or?
Well, a suggestion to Samantha.
Go for it.
When someone is filling out this type of information, I noticed that a social security number is required. Something like this is on an application like this for medical or SNAP or other stuff. Sometimes people it would keep them from filling out information like this because of wanting to put, or because of being requested to put a social security number in. So you may or may not get a response that your guys are looking for. So in order to maybe get a response with a social security number, is either 1, don't ask for one, or 2, have a program built in to where there could be, when they do put their social security number in, it can show an XXXXX. That way the social security number is not displayed when filling out the application.
That's great feedback, George. We're actually going to get to that screen. I think it's within the next 2 or 3 screens, and we can look at it a little bit more. I did actually here have one of our documents is about setting up an account that I wanted to pull over. Because we do have some language that kind of digs in a little bit more about the social security number. As you can see, when they're creating their account, social security number is not required. It's like, maybe you can't see, it's a little bit blurry probably. There's no asterisk here. And we do explain that if the individual does not want to list their social security number, they do not have to. We will still process their application. And as we get through the application process, I'll dig in a little bit more and show you guys a little bit more of what's on that that screen where we collect social security number, so we can get some more detailed feedback on that. But you make a really good point that it is a barrier for people, and they worry about, oh, if I don't have a social security number, or if I don't want to provide it, will I not get benefits, or will I get reported, or what's going to happen? So yeah, we're pretty cognizant, especially with public charge, on people's concerns around social security and immigration information. And I can't wait to show you those screens. I feel like you might like it, but I do want to hear any feedback you have when we're looking at the screen.
Okay, so I'll wait for the rest of the questions until everybody gets back.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. So take a breath. Got a couple minutes yet.
James, thanks for coming on to the commissioners board the other day.
It was a real pleasure. I learned a lot, and I look forward to coming back too. And I've got answers to a lot of your questions. In fact, Samantha helped with a bunch of them. All right, let's get restarted. Sorry for talking and working through the break a little bit. Don't worry, we will cover all those questions or what was discussed there coming up. Ruth, do you have a brief question?
Yes. I'm concerned that we're using the term client through this, and yet anybody under the Department of Human Services is classified as a consumer, not a client. Is there going to be a problem between the two words?
I'll say that I know even within self-sufficiency, there's different words that are used actually. So I was just talking with someone from communications, how we need to standardize what we do between OHA and ODHS. So there should not be a problem. We want to prevent confusion though among, as we say, the benefit recipients.
Right. Yeah, I'm afraid it will make a confusion.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's something you can touch upon as you go forward, Sam.
Yeah, it's I will say, since I started working with ODHS 13 years ago, we have changed what we are calling individuals who are receiving benefits from ODHS probably 5 times. And it's this very cyclical change. I've heard recipients, I've heard customers, I've heard clients, a bunch of things. So at the point in time when we were drafting the language for the one online portal, we were back at clients. And I too have asked communications to land on a decision. Once they get us to that final terminology that we want to use, Ruth, fear not, I will put in a work item expeditiously to get the terminology changed through our applicant portal in English and Spanish to make sure that we are not confusing people. That's a good call and a good reminder that we do need to continue to press the department to formalize our branding and our terminology. All right, before the system times out on me, because it does time out after about 10 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and say we have now reached the individual program request screen, where people can say that they want to apply for or do not want to apply for programs independently of each other. So Armenio is saying he wants ERDC. Burnaby is saying SNAP. Not everybody in the household needs to apply for all programs on the application. But I'm going to select them all just so we get the best experience here. And it is again reminding me that I am selecting ERDC without having a child under 18. And it's again mad at me. Just when I thought we got somewhere.
Hopefully this is a selling point why we're not, we haven't made training environments available a larger scale for people.
Yep. It is, I can say that I have had the opportunity to enter applications in the production environment, which is the environment that people who are requesting benefits would be entering through. It does not act like this. This is a special fun time that we get to enjoy in our testing environments. While I click back, my cat joined us. So if you enjoy looking at cats, he has decided to join us today. This is Rory, and he likes to sit on my lap like he's a toddler. Please stop helping Rory. Okay, everybody, fingers crossed that it wants to let me past here today. Woo! We made it into personal information. So George, this is the screen you were starting to talk about in regards to social security number. These individuals, I think both have already provided. The way that the system would function here is the first thing that would load up on the screen is just kind of this area I'm highlighting right here, which says, is Armenio providing a social security number? And then for medical and SNAP, social security number is required for everyone who has one and who is applying. SSN is optional if you are not applying to get benefits, but giving an SSN can speed up the application process. If I can't switch it because we're populating in data from Armenio's case, but if I had selected no, what we would see here is a drop down of why, and it includes reasons such as I don't have one, but I'll apply for one, religious exemptions, I have one, I just don't know it right now, et cetera, et cetera. But if Armenia were not applying for SNAP, Armenia would not be, the question about providing a social security number and the location for this individual to enter their social security number would not be mandatory on the screen. So those are some of the ways we lighten up the requirements around social security number. We give people plenty of opportunities to go, I'm not providing it, or I don't have one, or I don't have to provide it. And as social security numbers are entered, it is a best practice. We're required by our Office of Privacy and Security. And, you know, because we do care about privacy, we do obfuscate social security numbers. Even in correspondences that go out, you will not see the full social security number unmasked. It is available unmasked in our worker side portal because workers must be able to view it to do verifications, but in the client side, it comes back masked. We do have on the screen, additionally, it looks like everybody in this household has already stated they're a citizen, but I can show you what it looks like if they state they are not a citizen. We very pointedly never use terminology that could even slightly imply that an individual does not have a immigration status that we would want the feds to know about. We are very careful in not saying anything akin to undocumented or no immigration status, just so we don't have that in our system. So if the feds ever come and ask for it, we don't have that. Sorry, we don't know. But Arminio has already reported he's a citizen, same with Burnaby. So we're just going to keep moving forward.
So you're not requiring a social security number.
Right, exactly. There are we call them get out of jail free cards because a lot of us grew up playing Monopoly. So yes, we do have our get out of jail free cards on providing the social security number. If an individual doesn't have it, they don't have it. We still want individuals to apply for benefits if they believe that they need them and would be eligible. And we don't require it to submit an application, basically. It's just very helpful while they're submitting the application because on that prior screen that I was showing you where we collect the social security number information, as well as it's the same screen where we would collect if they are a non-citizen and we collect their immigration information. When they click next on that screen, we actually initiate some of our interfaces. We have interfaces out to the Social Security Administration, as well as an interface called Verify Legal Presence, where we can real-time confirm their identity. And if they are a non-citizen, we can confirm their immigration status. That allows us to make a real-time eligibility determination for Magi benefits, because we know for a certain fact that they are eligible for their benefits based on their status. And it really allows us to not have to pend and request them to provide us information after. It speeds things up. So on the screen, we are collecting information for the case. This is address, mailing address if it's not the same as their physical address, how they would like us to reach them. Do they only want to receive paper notices? Do they want us to also text them when they get a notice, or email them to say, hey, there's a notice in your one online portal? We collect communication needs, what language or languages they use at home, what language they want us to use when we're speaking to them, when we're writing, if they need alternate formats, such as large print, braille, oral presentation, etc. If they need interpreters that can be spoken, captioning, sign language, etc. And it gives them also an opportunity to say if they would allow a ODHS or OHA employee to interpret for them if one is available, or if they would prefer a third-party interpreter, and for them to be able to describe their needs as well. So case contact information is set off of the primary applicant. That is the person who is applying. So if George, if you and I are applying for SNAP together and I'm the one filling out the application and I'm saying you live with me and we're applying for SNAP together, I would be the primary applicant. In technical terms that are not real terms, right? You would be a dependent, George. Obviously, like you're not a minor, right? And you're not a tax dependent of me, but for a technical terminology, we would say you're a dependent. So I'm primary, you're dependent in our scenario here. So we would then collect our dependent contact information if there's more than one person in the household. This is so if there's any differences in communication, or if we need to send the mail to somewhere else, we're collecting that. We do have the opportunity, again, these what we call get out of jail free, like the easy outs, right? The opportunity to say, hey, this person has the same communication needs as primary. So we do try to lighten up this application, knowing that it does take a really long time, as much as possible. Up next, we have the disability demographics questions. These questions were created as part of the Real D data requirements. They come from some of our federal partners. They are not used for eligibility determination. They are only for demographic information, and they are based on age. So somebody who's 5 and under will have a different set of questions than an individual who is over 5. And because these are sensitive questions, we always give the opportunity to say, I don't know, or I don't want to answer. These have all already been answered through that initial application. This individual and the other individual on their case answered for their medical application. So already filled out, we can just skip through. Safety questions. I mentioned that we do not store any information or provide any information about domestic violence in applicant portal. We have a small subset of questions that we allow them to answer. However, the next time this individual comes through that their one online portal to apply for benefits or report changes, these answers will never pre-populate. We do not store these as available to be seen ever in the one online portal. And in the customer's receipt of the information they told us, these questions are not available. So this is just a little bit of way that an individual can flag that they have a safety concern to a worker without putting themselves in danger. And they're not mandatory. People can skip past them if they don't apply or they don't feel comfortable answering them. We do screens for expedited SNAP. Expedited SNAP is a way to put an individual who has an urgent need to receive food benefits into a program status where we will review and issue them benefits if they are eligible within 7 days. I am not with SNAP policy and I do not understand it that deeply, but we do screen for it out of applicant portal. It's a bunch of yes, no questions, and they would only receive that question if they were applying for SNAP. Up next, disability questions. Because disability is a very complex question, we do actually have these little throughout, but I'll start here, have these little question marks where people can get more information about what we mean by this question. This one's really beefy. This is one of these places where we struggled to get to 6th grade reading level, and we may not have hit it, but it's a complex question. If an individual answers it incorrectly, again, they will have ample opportunity to speak with an ODHS employee and modify their answers. We're going to continue with no for simplicity's sake. And because I'm already running out of time. I told James I thought maybe I could do this in an hour. Sometimes the system is against me. We do collect some pretty detailed information about relationships to determine if individuals, especially when it comes to SNAP, if they have to if they have to be on a case together. So there's a bunch of rules around this, but basically if you're related by blood, age, or it's an adult and a child under 22, they have to apply together. These questions just kind of drive us towards whether or not these people have to apply together if they were not already wanting to, but because they want to, problem solved. And James, are stressing me out. He just sent me a pop-up that said 15 minutes left. If you select a relationship on one screen, it populates the inverse over to the other one. I did my best, James. I tried so hard to make it an hour. Unable to work. This is a question that comes up for SNAP. Basically, this drives us towards if they will be required to participate in work search. So yes, no, we'll collect a little bit more information who is unable to work, but within the one online portal, we do try to keep very high level. Like I was talking about earlier, we are trying to get that minimum necessary to establish benefits. And we even go a little bit higher level in applicant portal just to make the application not take 6 hours to fill out. We're going to skip our tribal lands question. This one is, again, another one of those work search questions that comes up for SNAP. Tribal information will also come up for cash and medical. There's different questions depending on which programs. Living arrangements, we do need to know where people are living. There are a lot of different options in here, and we do ask that people just take their best guess. Aside from Magi Medical, we'll sort it all out in the intake. Just do your absolute best guess. If an individual selects, I'm going to show you domestic violence shelter, for example, there is a further question that appears only for the SNAP program that asks if individuals are homeless and then describes what we mean by homeless. That is, again, another work search question. I don't know if you guys have heard or are aware that post public health emergency, we are unfortunately being required to really, how do I want to put this? Really get strict about work search for SNAP. I have a lot of feelings about that. I've worked for ODHS for 13 years, so you can guess that they are not happy feelings about that. I'm not here for the dollars. I'm here because I care about the people in my community. So yeah, not loving that, but sometimes we are unfortunately hamstrung by what the feds tell us we have to do. Pregnancy information. So we've gotten into the first of what I call our sandwich modules, where they will have a gate post that asks a bunch of yes/no questions. For any one of them that we say yes to, it's going to take us to a details screen where we'll collect a little bit deeper information. And then at the end of that module, there will be a summary that says, it tells them what they told us, right? So they can take one last look through it. I'm just going to say no to all of these because we're out of time and I would rather show you a different one. So we're just going to kick past these really fast. We'll say no to all these gate post questions. Another one that comes up, this comes up for SNAP and for non-Magi Medical and for no other programs because nobody else cares, is our resources questions where we talk about liquid resources, vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. You can see this is where annuities came in, as I mentioned before. Because these are complex, we try to describe them to the best of our ability in our help text. A great undertaking for this team might actually be looking at our help text and determining if it actually is helpful and makes sense. Just an idea. I did my very best with it, but always looking for feedback and people to say, hey, Sam, you did your best, but your lens wasn't the lens it needed to be. So these are all currently marked as a no. I'm going to keep with that because these are not exciting or interesting or fun. And here's the summary screen for it. As you can see, because there's no information, it says no records provided. They can add a resource here. But I'll get into that a little bit more because I really am running at top speed to try to get us to income because I feel like income really gives us the best look at the system. Please don't break. You're taking too long to load. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, so currently this individual has reported that they have no earned income, they have no self-employment income, they do have unearned income, no unpaid work activity, no specific income. I will pre-warn you guys that I do not love this screen. I find our income module way too complex. Very, very open to how we can make this better. I have a lot of ideas. I want to hear what this group thinks about how we can make income make more sense, because this is very jargony. It's very jargony for people. Yeah, it's tough. This is a tough area. I'm going to go ahead and click next, and it's going to pull me into, because Armenio had already reported that he has unearned income. It's going to actually pull me into the details screen so I can see information about it. It's going to load up blank in case I need to add a new income here, but I actually just want to look at the one we've already said. So I'm going to click the pencil so it will let me look at the existing information. Up at the top, we received feedback that people were having a hard time figuring out how to tell us that their incomes had ended. And that's a bummer, because that's a really big and important thing. We need people to be able to report to us. So we did go ahead and move up to the very top. Has this income ended? And they can select yes and tell us information about when they received their last income, or they can say no. And there are some items here that they can change. There are some items that they can't. We don't want people to go in and make their retirement into unemployment, for example. We want them to end their retirement and add a new income to report when, if they have a new income source. But if the retirement changed from $515 to $550 a month, we do want them to report that here. So they can report it and click update. And next. And here we are at another one of these neat summaries. You can see that that it has loaded in what we reported. It did not hold the information that I reported. I think that's a system problem, but I'm going to take a screenshot really quick so I remember to come back and make sure that this is a problem unique to our testing system and not a production problem, because we don't like that. I love every time I get to do one of these demos, because I come back with so many of these screenshots out of this system where I'm like, oh man, that did not work as I hope. And I really profoundly hope that that is not a problem in production. And then I spent about a day going through and making sure that production is functioning better. Up next is expenses. Expenses, again, does not load for every program. So I think we have some medical assistant community partners here. You guys may notice that the Magi tax deductions didn't load. That would be one that's familiar to you. Because this person is not applying for medical right now, they're just applying for SNAP and childcare. We are loading in the expenses that you can deduct for them. This is another one of those places where, unfortunately, some of those deductions can be duplicative. It is a bummer. We do our best to make it really clear what goes in the Magi tax deductions, and that it may be duplicative of other expenses they've already told us about, but it's imperfect. Integrated systems are hard. All feedback is very, very welcome. Because this individual only applied for medical before, it's populated everything else is a no, except for medical expenses. We'll make that one a no as well. Just like when we looked at income, if any of these were a yes, it would ask us who, and then it would take us to that details screen. But we're just going to go as quickly as we can, because I really want to get this submitted so that I can show you what happens when it submits. And hopefully it will want to. So again, it's a sandwich. We had our gate post. We didn't get into details because we said we wanted nothing on our sandwich. So here's our top bread of the summary. And then one last time before they submit, they get to look through everything they told us. They can come through, they can edit any of this as needed before they submit. Everything they have told us will be visible here. for them to review that one last time, because we do want people to make sure that they told us the most accurate information to their ability to answer. Understanding that, again, with everything aside from Magi Medical, they will have the opportunity to work with an eligibility worker and ensure that all of their information is accurate. We have entered all of the data they need for an eligibility determination. Now we're in our review and submit, where we offer, we do offer up resources for individuals. And we start getting into things they need to know when they're submitting an application. This is the rights and responsibilities. I'm going to click through these really fast. If you want to look at our current rights and responsibilities, these are the same rights and responsibilities that appear whether you're applying through the One Online portal or with a paper application, with the slight difference that because our paper medical application is separate from our paper SNAP, TANF, and ERDC application, they will only have the relevant portions to them, whereas the One Online portal provides the rights and responsibilities, program acknowledgements, penalties, etc., for all programs, because you can apply for all programs through that through the One Online portal. And if somebody submits an application, for example, for SNAP through the One Online portal, and then they're in their intake and they say, you know what, actually, I need cash assistance as well, we don't have to give them these again. They have already been provided these. So it was just for simplicity's sake, to make it very easy for individuals to view all of the information they may need to know about benefits, and to really call out what benefit they are for. We spent a pretty substantial amount of time working with experts with our publications and designs unit to ensure that these are plain language, easy to read, easy to understand. And within the One Online portal, they are available in English and Spanish. There are additional languages available on benefits.oregon.gov. I really want to get us to a submission. Veteran information. So we are required by Oregon state law to collect information as to whether or not an individual is current or former member of military services. That is in order to provide them, if they would like, referrals to additional benefits through the Oregon Department of Veteran Affairs. We also have a new medical program in Oregon for individuals who are veterans. If they are not eligible for any other Medicaid medical coverage, they may still be eligible for dental coverage through the Veterans Dental Program. So this gives some information here. They can answer extra questions to determine if there is any eligibility for that, but we're just going to go ahead and leave it at no. We do want to encourage individuals who are veterans and need dental assistance to go ahead and apply for medical assistance. They have to be determined ineligible for Medicaid to be evaluated for veterans dental. So you cannot just apply for veterans dental. We're almost at the end. Voter reg question. We have to ask it, so we do. We want to encourage people who are interested in registering to vote to do so. If they select yes, we will mail them a voter registration card. I'm going to select no and move on. We do not determine if people are eligible to vote. That is outside the purview of ODHS N1. We simply send them the card. They can send it into Secretary of State, and that is up to Secretary of State to determine if the individual is eligible to register to vote or not. We just give them the resource. So the individual has to read through all the things that they are stating they understand to sign and submit this application. This is our under penalty of perjury. They are providing truthful information to the best of their knowledge at that time. If somebody says they have $100 in their checking account and during their intake, they're like, actually, I had 115. Nobody's getting persecuted or jailed for that. It is to the best of their knowledge. We understand, nobody's trying to send people to jail, but we do have to provide the penalty of perjury information. they sign. It is a digital signature or an electronic signature. They submit. Hopefully the system goes quickly. So one time when we were designing the system, I said, hey, why does this screen sit here for so long doing all of this? And we were actually told a statistic that people feel more comfortable with the outcome if systems spend some time processing. They feel like it's more accurate. I don't know if that's actually true. I would personally like it to go faster, but you know, that could just be me where I am in my life. So at this point, we're giving individuals the opportunity to upload any documents they might feel are relevant. So if while they're applying, they have their pay stubs ready, they can attach them right now, or they can wait until we ask for them. It's really, this is a non-mandatory screen, just giving the opportunity to attach information that they think would be useful. But we're going to go ahead and skip. And this is just confirming that they didn't upload anything. These are next steps that talk about what they may need to do next. But the long and the short is we may need, the worker will tell you what you need to do during your interview. That's kind of the long and short of it. We also give them the opportunity to print their application at this juncture. But as I mentioned, that full legal copy of their application will be available in their dashboard for them to obtain anytime. This is not their last chance. And I really want to get us there.
You're doing great.
I
Take a
know,
breath.
done, James. And I'm so sorry for taking up all your time. Oh, we are almost there. We are at eligibility results. So as I mentioned, the only program that you can get a real time, as in you submit your application and we tell you approved or denied or pending, out of the one online portal is medical assistance if they are eligible for Magi Medical. Non-Magi Medical, SNAP, ERDC, and cash assistance all require an interview, and we kind of indicate that through pending completion of the application process. If you have questions about what those mean, I'm super zoomed in, so it's going to load all weird, but basically we need more info is what this says. But because I'm super zoomed in so everybody can see, it's going to load all weird. Click next. Please behave. It takes us back to our dashboard with super important information. An interview is required because they apply for programs that require an interview. So we recently received, we've been receiving this feedback for a while, but we recently were able to implement a change for feedback received that people need to know when we need an interview. So we have set up logic such that if they apply for programs that require an interview, they will be told right on their dashboard. We will still try to contact them. That is our policy. However, they can also contact us to schedule that interview. We do not yet have the ability through the one online portal to schedule it. Those are future enhancements. We're always looking for future opportunities to make the system better. And yes, we will add the ability for them to schedule their interview through this portal. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything ran correctly. And if I click on my actions, it's going to show us the client receipt. Yay. So it shows on my actions just today, July 12th. Today is July 12th, right? Okay. That they submitted application 502-613-859. This will be there for the next 5 years. Anytime they submit an application, they renew through the system or they report changes, it creates something in their My Actions where they can go view exactly what they told us with the caveat of we masked social security numbers and we do not include those safety questions. So this is basically the client's receipt of what they told us, when they told it to us, and that we have received it. So super important. No more tracking numbers. We did that with our prior systems. Now we have this. And this is a not very pretty, but a very, very informational PDF that goes over everything they said.
20 pages.
It's dynamic. If they apply for 4 programs and they have 10 people in the household, it's going to be very, very long. If they have 1 person in the household, they apply for SNAP. and they don't have any income or expenses or resources, it's going to be pretty short. So it generates dynamically based on the information. And yeah. So if they ever come in and say like, oh, I told you that I got a job on this date, they can go back and see it in their PDF that they did in fact report that, and that is their receipt of what they told us. Super useful, super nice. It's a huge benefit for clients to have this available to them, even though it is kind of bulky. So that is kind of the whole big party. I did just get a ping though.
So, well, I was just going to say, take a breath. I know that was a lot of information for everyone. And I know Vanessa had asked a question. I know we need to wrap up soon, but Samantha, what do you think of that question about moving dependents? Is that a longer answer or?
How's moving? Ooh. That is actually a very policy-driven question. So I think I can answer this a little bit, but each policy area is going to be a little bit different. So for SNAP, for medical, and for cash assistance, you can only receive benefits on one case. For childcare, you can receive benefits on multiple cases. This is to cover situations where we have mom and dad are not living together, are in separate households and are applying separately for ERDC, but both have a need for childcare coverage. So that the child can receive childcare for their time while they're at dad's house and for their time while they're at mom's house. But for every other program, you can only be in one household receiving. So what we see happen, I would say from my experience, the most frequently is, child turns however many years old, moves out of the house, wants to apply on their own. What we look for clients, or what we look for individuals to do, is to either call the department or come into their one online portal, report that little Johnny's no longer in the household. That will allow little Johnny to apply for benefits on his own. However, let's say it goes the wrong order, right? Let's say little Johnny has moved out and he said, hey, don't forget to take me off of your SNAP. Parents forgot because they're busy. Little Johnny goes in and applies for himself, either online or in an office or by phone. We always allow the submission of that application. There are 0 times where we stop somebody from applying, because we want to establish that filing date or that date of request, because those are the dates from which benefits will go back to and start if they are found eligible. So we would allow little Johnny to submit his application for the benefits that he needs. When the worker receives that request for benefits, they get indications in their portal that little Johnny is already receiving benefits on the other case, in the scenario, his parents' SNAP case. So what they will do is they will work with Johnny, they'll work with the parents to determine, yes, okay, little Johnny is now out on his own. He needs to be removed from parents' benefits. Benefits are issued at the case level. So we cannot take Johnny's portion of July SNAP and put it on a card for him to use. He will not be eligible for SNAP benefits until August 1st, and then he will get his own for his case. That is something that we need the community to understand. And when we're working with community individuals, like making sure that they are aware that timely reporting is really critical, because we don't want a scenario where little Johnny comes in on August 2nd, because he then will not be eligible until September 1st, because benefits have already been issued for him on his parents' case. I know that was kind of a little bit of a nitty gritty one, very policy driven. Systematically though, we would allow Johnny to establish that data request or that filing date, and the workers would determine, if he needs to be on his own case, working with him and the case he was on, and get that all separated out for him. So I hope that answered your question, Vanessa. I know I got a little deep divey there.
No, that's exactly kind of what I needed, because ours is more on, like, we'll have children removed from households and the parents, the bio parents will continue to receive benefits. So then the guardian or someone else will step in, and then they'll say, there'll be 3 or 4 months where they're saying, well, we have to verify that they're actually with you. And even though they have like case, documentation, like, no, the child's with me, then they have to check in with the other parent, do that. And then, well, now we can't, even if it's the mid-month, we have to wait till the end of this month, now they can apply then. So it just makes it like a really lengthy process. And like you said, also, like, we've also had teen parents who apply and they're like, well, you're receiving, sometimes we'll have caseworkers that say, you're already receiving benefits. Like, no, that's on my parents. This is different. So yeah. And also, like, it's hard when a child is eligible for ERDC, and if they are removed, they lose care completely, and then they have to reapply, and we can't easily just transfer them to a provider in the region with the new either resource family, because they then have to reapply for ERDC. Yeah. It doesn't stay with the child. So that's why something, which is weird, because with other programs that are federal or state, the eligibility stays with the child, not with the household.
Yeah, that is a complexity of ODHS programs, that they really are with the case, not with the person. So it can be really complex. And James, I would suggest, we need program to dive into that further, because in those sort of cases, those really come down to the program rules. System can function however program needs it to in those scenarios.
Yeah. So in other words, it's a little out of scope for us, but it's obviously something of interest. And so, Vanessa, we could talk offline about possible solutions, and could pass it along to the new Department of Early Learning Care ERDC team. But we are over time. George, I see your hand up, but I want to say a few things to wrap up, and then we can see if people want to stick around for additional questions or conversation. But I want to apologize for not getting as many materials out as we should have. The holiday last week, blah, 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 other excuse. But, we should have gotten agenda and the video up more quickly. So we will work on that. But like I said, we get the draft charter out to you in the next few days. Please get your nominations in for co-chairs, and so we can help improve, and set these agendas so they're more responsive to everything you need. And next time we'll look at some of the proposals to improve the one system that we have. And I'll be leaning on Samantha to help us translate those ideas to something we all can understand. And we can start talking about what's our process for setting those priorities. So I hope some people can stick around, but we'll call it a meeting there. And George, what